Welcome to the Family Banking Blueprint podcast. This show is for women who put family first, value their faith, and work hard, yet they were never shown how to multiply their money without sacrificing their lives. This isn't about the hustle or the get-rich-quick. It's about opportunity, decisions, and building a family bank that buys you time, flexibility, options, and family adventures. Here we talk about real estate, passive income, and the beliefs that come even before the first investment. Let's talk about what that looks like. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Family Banking Blueprint podcast. I can't wait for the day that I show you all the bloopers of this. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Hey, today I was just thinking about something that's been on my mind that I wanted to share with you. This whole podcast, the entire point of it is to create a space where we talk about faith, family, and financial freedom, because I think those are such core importance in our world, right? They just are the foundation of a lot of things. So as I was thinking, there's been a lot going on in the world, a lot of conversations that I'm having out there. And a lot of them around pain that people are walking through. And I always think back to how blessed I am to have been stubborn enough to think to create financial freedom early when I was a kid. And a lot of that just stemmed from thinking like, hey, when my parents get old, who's going to take care of them? I better get my act together because I want kids and I'm going to have to take care of my parents and all of these. And this was always on my mind when I was young. And so luckily, I started building young, and it's been a blessing. And so I was looking at some data, and did you know that 34 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? Like they can't even pay their bills. If they are able to pay their bills, there's not any extra at all. And then beyond that 34%, so that's 1 in 3 people. If you're in a room of 3 people, chances are there's one that can't even pay their bills, right? Is barely making ends meet. Another scary number is that 59%, almost 6 out of a room of 10, right? So if you picture you're at a family dinner table with 10 people, 6 of those people have no money in savings for an emergency. Almost 60% of people, if something were to happen, if there were an emergency, there's no money. And they would have to put it on credit cards. They would have to go into debt. They would have to borrow. They would have to sacrifice a lot. And it would just, in the case of an emergency, cause more chaos, right? That's not where we want to be. That's not the way that we want life to look. And so as I look at those numbers, I just wanted to have a conversation with you about protection, about peace, and about the people you love, right? Because I want to talk to you about protection, peace, and the people you love, and how we protect them with the passive income that we build, with the financial blessings that we create. And so let's get into it and let's talk about that. Something funny, my husband is saved in my phone as Ice, and everybody's like, what's Ice? Why do you call him Ice Mike Kingsbury? And I laugh because Ice means in case of an emergency. And years ago, when cell phones came out, if you saved your spouse as Ice, then theory had it that the police would check your phone to see who to call if you're ever in an accident or something like that. So I did this years ago, but I'm laughing because today, as I was writing notes and kind of figuring out what I wanted to talk to you about, the number one thing I want to talk to you about is in case of emergency. It's ICE, right? In case of emergency. So this week, some things have really been on my heart. We have a friend that has just been a blessing in the lives of myself, my children, and due to a accident in the line of work, somebody lost their life. And therefore, this particular person, because they were attached to that outcome accidentally, their entire life changed as well. So it disrupted 2 families and really destroyed a lot of lives. And as I'm sitting there, this friend of ours is going to have to go to prison for several years over this accident. And as I'm sitting there thinking, I'm thinking about his wife. And if you know me, I feel the pain of people when they hurt. It kills me. And this person's wife they have a baby. They're wonderful people. They do great things for the community. This is such a mess of an event. And yet it's going to be what it's going to be, and lots of prayers and things like that around it. But as I started thinking about them and their world that literally shifted overnight, and how it literally will remove his income from the lives of their family forever. And yes, there is zero discount to the life that was also lost that will be gone forever. But today I'm going to talk about the financial burden of this type of accident because accidents happen all the time. That's why they call them accidents. And when things like this happen, and it can shift and change anything in an instant, is your family prepared? Will your kids be okay? Is your wife protected? Or whoever that is in your world that would be affected by your loss of income or your lack of ability to contribute for some time, right? That happens all the time. That happens in injuries. My dad years ago had a head injury and he had zero means to continue operating his business. He had no ability. I mean, we had to teach him to walk again. We had to teach him to eat again. We had to teach him the basic things of life. And therefore, there was no way for him to contribute in any way during that time. And so, as I was thinking about our friend's wife, and I was thinking about, I'm making assumptions about their finances because they're very young, but it could happen to anybody. And maybe their finances personally are better, but this could happen to anybody. And when we're talking 59% of them have no money in an emergency fund in the case of an emergency. In general life, if this were to happen to somebody, they would probably be in a major financial hardship, just like the injury that my dad had to deal with. And one of the blessings of that time financially is it really brought awareness when my dad was hurt to what we had done unknowingly, right? We had worked to build this portfolio, this passive income, this ability to fund something that in case of an emergency, we could have time. We could be financially okay, even if the money stopped. And it just really brought awareness to me of how many people have not started thinking that way and have not started building those funds and that type of income such that if they lost their earned income, they'd be okay. Divorce. I've had some conversations lately about divorce. It happens a lot, you guys, a lot more. And we don't go into marriage thinking that there's going to be a divorce. But in the event that there's a divorce that happens and somebody's got to take care of the kids, somebody's got to float all the bills. Now you've got two households to afford besides attorney's fees and all of the mess that comes along with this. Have you built something that can protect you in case of an emergency? If today's episode helped you to think differently about money, read the Family Banking Blueprint. It'll walk you through the exact framework that we use to build your family's wealth. And remember, faith first, family always, and don't forget to get some assets. So number one is ICE. In case of an emergency, I want you to be thinking about the importance of building these funds and building this banking system because anything can happen and it can happen to you. It's happened to me, not just once, several times over life. It's happened to people I love, and some of them are not able to take the time and make the space for the emergency because they have to focus on continuing to earn money. They never get to grieve. They never get to process the challenge that they're going through because they're dependent on showing up to work every day. Number two is to protect people. The reason that you want the passive income and the financial freedom is to protect not just people, but yourself. In case of medical debt, you guys, medical debt is one of the biggest factors in driving people to lose funds and to lose savings and to lose financial security. Medical debt. We had an instance this year, actually, this year cost us a fortune in medical debt. We had an instance this year where I was fine. Everything seemed fine. I had no symptoms. And I just took a test, which was like, hey, you've got something wrong with you and you need to deal with it immediately. I didn't know. I just had a fluke test, honestly, that a doctor gave me. And I was passing it off as, oh, here they go, selling me another test. And in fact, it did come back with, not great news. And I had to go deal with that immediately. And it cost me out of pocket quite a bit of money because my insurance wouldn't work with the doctors that I was insistent on having. And so, one of the other blessings of that financial freedom is that you get to choose your medical care. You're not stuck to wherever they tell you you can go. And that's a huge blessing if you've ever been caught up in the medical world and kind of just how messy that is. The ability to choose is really important. But to protect, there are legal debts. What happens if somebody sues you over something that was an accident and you have to file bankruptcy? Like, do you have assets that are paying you? Do you have them protected in a space where somebody can't take them? And do you, if you were to have to file bankruptcy for divorce or for some kind of accident or something like that, Are you in a space where those things are protected and once you come out of it, your family will still be okay? This is so important. And especially when 59% of households don't have any emergency funds, that's how they're leveraging to get their emergency funds is litigation. So protecting yourself from litigation, this is a reason to have this passive income. Sudden change in work or in income, this is part of the protection, the number two. Sudden change in work or in income. Not only is this family who's dealing with this accident, not only are they dealing with the fact that the spouse is going to be in jail and there's going to be this distance and there's children growing up that are going to have separation and all of these different horrid things that have to be thought about that are going to affect their family, but also the cost of litigation or the cost of actually, that's another one of them, the cost of litigation, the cost of attorneys and things like that, but also the sudden change in income. So this person was very much a provider in this family, and now there will be that lack of income that comes through. And so if there were assets that were creating passive income, in the case of this accident, there might be some income flying through or still coming through to the children, to the wife, such that they were protected. And I hope that there was, and I hope that they had that set up. But being really young, sometimes that's just not something you have set up yet. It is something you need to start thinking about even when you're really young. So sudden change in work or income. I think back to COVID. When my dad got hurt, I definitely lost income and had to stop what was bringing me active income so that I could go and take care of things. But I had that passive income that bought me time freedom and allowed me also financial ability to go and take care of those things. But also when you're thinking about that sudden change in income, we had COVID. And we've talked about this a few times, but nobody could have ever predicted that one day the entire world's going to shut down and you can't go to work anymore. Now, some of us were financially blessed during that situation because we were essential workers and they told us, go to work, and we got lots of income. If you were in Arizona, the whole world moved to Arizona for some reason, and we made a great income. That could have been very different if I would have been in a different line of work. And so my point is, there's gonna be emergencies in your life. Nobody gets out of life easy. There's going to be things that come up like medical debt and litigation and change in income. You need a backup plan. Number three is to serve, to be able to support others in need, to give, and to have time freedom to help them. As I was thinking, as you can tell, this family's really been on my heart. But as I was thinking about this, I'm like, as a wife, if my husband were to be absent, there's a lot of household chores that I either don't know how to do or would be really hard on me physically to be able to take care of them. And if I don't have passive income, who's going to do those things in his absence? And I have friends. I had a wonderful breakfast the other day and some conversations with friends who've lost husbands. And when there's not a passive income option, all of their job becomes your job too, as if you're not already dealing with enough, right? You're not already dealing with the loss of a husband or the absence of a husband. This could apply to military, right? Like when there's an absence physically of somebody, now you need the ability to financially hire somebody to do some of those jobs so that they don't all fall back on your plate. And so as I was thinking of this couple and this family, I was just thinking of, gosh, even something as simple as landscaping. That's just going to be another added thing to her plate. And now, because I've built passive income, one of the beauties of that, and what I want you to feel it's such a gift to be able to give and to provide for somebody who maybe can't provide for themselves, or maybe, and these guys may be able to, but there's always a situation where somebody I love is in a challenge or in a challenging time. And because we've built passive income, we can flow it through to them and we can give and we could lift the load of the challenges that they're walking through, right? We can take something off their plate so that they don't have such a heavy burden. So number three was to serve, to support others in need, to be able to give, to be able to have the time freedom to help should they need help. Maybe they just need an ear. But if you have that financial freedom, you also can buy your time back. Not in the sense that you don't get to buy more time on earth, obviously, but you can buy more time being present. If you don't have to do all the things, you can provide people opportunity and give it to them in which you get your time back. So then you can be present for the people who need you. So number 3 is to serve. Number 4 is for future generations. So I'm looking at my kiddos and I'm like, oh my gosh, the cost of living, the cost of buying a house, the amount of money being paid. If you look at minimum wage versus the cost of living, they have not grown at the same rate. And so the cost of living is significantly higher than the income being earned. And if you're thinking about that ahead of time and you're buying these assets that produce money while you sleep, what you're doing is you've created another, it's not a person, but you've created another person that's working and generating income for the family or for for your friends or whatever. You have somebody else who's not a real person, your entity, your LLC is generating income such that you, in the absence of somebody you love, have the additional, but also so that you have the additional so that you can bless others when they need it and when you need to lift something off their plate. Also, that cost of living for your kids when they get to that point. So, future generations, when they get to that point where they're getting married, buying homes, having babies, all those things are so expensive. And in this time, it's even more expensive. And you're seeing a lot of kids staying home a lot longer, living with families for a long time because they just simply don't have a family bank that's helping to fund these things, them to fund startup businesses. So instead, they get stuck in this job that they're barely making ends meet. And it's this perpetual, I don't know, it's a perpetual trap, really, because they can't get out of it. They need it. They need it. They need it. They need it. They got to show up. Whereas if there's this family bank set aside of all these assets that are generating income that can trickle down and give loans to them when they want to start a business, help them to buy their first house, things like that, then you just lift that burden off of them so that they can launch into life and just the probability of success is greater because you've thought of the future generation and how you want to help them launch. And then number 5 is when you have financial freedom, it buys you time and influence over things that matter to you. So things like policies that you think need to change in your community, in the world, maybe, just services that need to be created that would serve people and serve a purpose that you love, politics, education. When there is excess money, you can donate, you can fund, you can help start up things for causes that you believe in, things for children to improve education, improve medical care, things like that. And so not only does it buy you funds to help influence and push those things along, but it also buys you time to where you can participate and you can volunteer and be a part of it and watch the direction and help in the direction that it's going. So, as I'm just sitting here thinking today, number 1 is the passive income needs to be there in case of emergency. That was number 1. Number 2 was to protect you from litigation, to protect you from medical debt, all of those type of things, changes in work. Number 3, to serve. It's there to serve others, to support others in times of need, to help lift them up, to take off the burden when they are in a challenging time. Number 4 is for future generations so that they can launch and get out there and have amazing, successful futures and be light years ahead because you thought about them and you planned ahead for them. And number 5 is time and influence, just so that you can be a part of the things that you want to make an impact on and that you can help the world move in the direction that is important to you for it to move, right? That you love, that you want to be a part of. So I ask you this, I'm going to leave you with this question. If earned income stopped tomorrow, would you feel at peace or would you feel panic? And that answer to that question should keep you thinking, keep you learning, help you to create and become a student of wealth. I hope you keep showing up here. I hope between now and the next time we talk that you're thinking about getting some assets. Thank you for spending your time with me. I appreciate you. You guys have a very blessed day. All right, friends, that's it for today. But remember, faith first, family always, and don't forget to get some assets. I'll see you next time.